If you've lifted your 2016 to 2023 Tacoma, it's important to make sure you've got the right supporting mods to make it drive and handle properly. This front lower control arm and cam bolt kit from Freedom Off-Road will make sure that your Tacoma can handle the tough terrain while also maintaining proper alignment and road manners. The dark side to lift kits that we don't like to talk about is that they can negatively affect your suspension geometry, so your truck may not be able to be aligned properly, and thus it's not going to drive the way it was intended to. Now, especially if you're going to be driving your truck daily, you want to ensure that it can be aligned properly and safely. These lower control arms are designed for lifted applications, and they feature brand new ball joints and higher quality rubber bushings that are 20% stiffer than your standard ones, so these are going to deflect less than the stock bushings. All that means you're going to be able to stay in control of your truck more easily, even if you're in tough terrain. Also included in this kit are new cam bolts, which are going to help with that alignment. These allow for up to 1.5 degrees of positive or negative camber or caster, so you can get your wheels aligned exactly how you want them and dial out any unwanted angle that may have resulted from lifting your truck. The arms themselves are constructed from steel and they're finished in black for additional protection against rust and corrosion. The bushings and ball joints all come pre-installed to make it a little bit easier for you, and they are replaceable should you want to do that or need to do it down the line. Overall, it's a pretty high quality setup and something that many overlook when building their off-road or overlanding rigs. Pricing comes in at about $425 for the kit, which is pretty good for something like this. And it's not a whole lot more than you'd spend buying one of these control arms new from your Toyota dealer, and those don't have the capability and adjustability that comes here, so with that in mind, I would call these a pretty good deal. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 3 hours to complete. Everything here is designed to bolt on without any additional modifications, but it is going to take you some time to do it, so budget accordingly. And also make sure you get a proper professional alignment done once you've got this stuff in place. We are going to walk you through the install process step by step right now though, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size impact guns, needle nose pliers, a marker, 19, 22, 24, and two 27mm wrenches, ball joint tool, an extension, 12, 19, 22, 24, and 27mm sockets, a swivel adapter, and a pole jack. What's up guys? Today we're installing a front lower control arm on our Tacoma, so let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is remove these two bolts on our skid plate so that we can swing this down a little bit to get access to our lower control arm pivot bolt. We might end up having to loosen up the two up front as well, but we'll just start with these back two for now. So take a 12mm socket and remove these two in the rear. So now just pull back on your splash guard and loosen up these two bolts. And that'll give us access to our lower control arm pivot bolts. Now next we can remove our lower strut bolt with a 19mm wrench and socket. Next we'll grab a 19mm socket to remove these two bolts holding on our lower ball joint cradle. I'm going to leave the nut on our lower ball joint for now, and we'll get that off on the table where we'll have much more access to get a ball joint tool in there to pop it free. And now I'm just going to step up to a 1/2 inch impact gun because these two bolts are very tight. So now before I remove these pivot bolts, I'm going to take a marker and just make an alignment mark so I can just get these ballparks to where they were with our new lower control arms. We do have new bolts, but the marks will still help us to get it lined up. So just take a marker, and just make a mark there, and then a mark on the frame as well. And I just do this for both sides of both bolts. Now this isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough just to get you to the alignment shop to get it properly done. So once you made those marks, just let them dry a second, and then we're going to take a 22mm socket and wrench on both of these to pull these out. When you're loosening these, be careful, because now that we have everything disconnected, this can swing down and get you if you're not ready for it. So now you can remove your nut and your plate. Slide that bolt through. You can twist this down to clear the axle. And then do the same thing on the other side here. And before you pull this out, get a hand on that lower control arm and fully remove it. So now that we have our lower control arm removed, we need to pop off this lower ball joint cradle. So I've got a pair of needle nose pliers that we'll use to bend back the cotter pin to remove it. And then we got a 24mm socket for the nut and a ball joint tool here in case this is stuck onto the ball joint. That'll help us pop it free. Just grab onto that cotter pin and just bend that back to be as straight as you can get it. Now this one has a weird kink over here, so I might end up having to cut this to get it out. Okay, broke on its own. Now our cotter pin just ended up disintegrating into a million little pieces here. So now we can grab a 24mm socket and loosen up our lower ball joint nut. Keep your hands free of your cradle because this can spin. So now I've got my ball joint tool in place. You're gonna take the U-shaped side and wedge it in between the ball joint and the cradle. And then the bottom thin side, you're gonna get on the bottom of the stud. And then just take a 24mm socket and just slowly tighten this down until it pops. Now you wanna be careful because these things can just go all over the place once they pop. So now we can grab our new lower control arm and put it up into our mount. And then get your bolt started. Now with the plate on the other side, make sure that you're matching the orientation of how it is on the opposite side. And then thread your nut on. And we'll do that same thing over here. Only difference on this side is we have an extra washer for the nut. Now I'm just gonna leave these loose for now. We don't wanna tighten down our bushings until we have a load on the suspension. Otherwise, if you tighten it down while it's here, and then you put a load on your suspension and it goes up, you risk tearing your bushings. So we'll leave those loose for now until we have everything put back together. Next, we're gonna swing our lower control arm up and get our strut connected. And then you can grab your washer and nut, thread that onto the other side. Now I don't have enough thread, so I'm just gonna take my 19mm socket and just run it in. And then that'll give me the threads I need to thread that nut on. And then just like our other bushings, we have a bushing here, so we're not gonna tighten that down until the end. Next, we can install our lower ball joint cradle. So you can remove that castle nut. Slide your cradle on, thread that castle nut back on. And then we just need to line up the holes here. So I'm gonna have to pull out on the knuckle a little bit to get one to line up. Getting the first one started is gonna be the hardest part here. And now once you have both bolts threaded, make sure that they're threading in smoothly, and then you can take your 19mm socket to tighten them the rest of the way. I like to go back and forth to just put an even load here. And then while we're here, I'm also going to tighten down our castle nut. Now you want one of these slots to line up with the hole in the stud. Now when you're tightening it, if it's not lining up, you want to tighten it more. You never want to loosen it to get that hole to line up. So now take a 24mm socket, tighten that down. And then we're covering the hole a little bit there, so I'm going to tighten a little more. Right there we look good, so we can go grab our cotter pin. So now I'm going to grab a new cotter pin and just put it through the hole there. And I'm just going to take needle nose pliers. I'm going to grab the longer side first. And then the shorter side. Just going to bend these opposite directions. And then you can just press on there to bend it down. So now we're ready to go back and tighten down all of our bushings. I've got a pole jack here under the outermost part of the lower control arm, putting a load on the suspension. Before we tighten down these bolts, we're gonna have to get our alignment as close as we can get it. So since we have new plates here, we're not gonna have that alignment mark that we made on our old bolts. So right here, I can see that that mark was all the way at the top here. So this has to rotate down to where my mark is on the frame. So just grab a 27mm wrench. You can twist that down. Now we can see our mark. Need to go a little bit further, right about there. And then I'm gonna grab a 27mm socket with a swivel. With the wrench on this side, you don't wanna move it. You wanna hold it exactly where it is so that your alignment mark is correct. So now I don't really have enough room to get that 27mm socket in there. We're coming very close to hitting the axle here. So we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way of 2 wrenches and just going slow. And while you're doing this, make sure you're not getting too far off from your alignment mark. And now on the other side, do that same thing. We've got our mark around that same spot, right at the center there. So this one's gonna be the exact same thing, except you're using a 24mm socket and wrench. So go ahead and turn that so that you're pretty straight there. And then grab your 24mm socket on the other side and tighten that down. Before you crank it all the way down, just give it one more check over here. And we're pretty good and centered there. So you can tighten it the rest of the way down. And now lastly, we'll get our lower strut bolt. Get your 19mm wrench on the bolt side, 19mm socket on the nut side, and tighten that down. And now once you have both of your lower control arms installed, we can fold our skid plate back up, thread in your bolts, and then just grab your 12mm socket and tighten them all down. Now you can do that same exact thing on the front too. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Freedom Off-Road front lower control arms and cam bolts for your 2016 to 23 Tacoma. Thank you for watching, and for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.